I didn't apply for the job. That's the first lie that people expect me to tell. So I'll correct it right away. I did apply. I just didn't think it would apply back. The posting was buried halfway down a job board that I only checked when I was desperate. There was no logo, no company name, just a message. Overnight monitor. Remote. Guaranteed high pay. No experience required. Observation only. There was something about that last line that stuck with me. Observation only. It means no action, no responsibility, and no consequences. I clicked on it because I wanted to disappear for 8 hours a night and still get paid. The onboarding was just one email. No welcome message or no HR forms, not even an explanation, just a link and one sentence. You will be observing active subjects. Do not interfere. I remember hovering over the link longer than I should have. That was the moment where I could have closed the tab, but I didn't. The portal opened to a grid of camera feeds. There were 16 of them. Each feed showed a room. Walls made of concrete. One overhead light. A bed was bolted to the floor. A stainless steel sink with a toilet to match but with no seat. No windows. No clocks. Each room held just one person. I don't know what you imagined when I said that. Maybe they were prisoners, or maybe they were test subjects. Maybe even actors. They weren't restrained. They weren't sedated. They were just there. Some were on the floor, some were pacing. One man laid flat on the floor, staring straight up into the camera like he already knew where it was. And at the bottom of each feed was a timer. Red numbers. And they were counting down. I assumed it was a countdown to release. That's how your brain protects you. You invent mercy where none is promised. I checked the instructions once again. Log irregularities. Observe only. Do not engage. There was a text box next to each feed, so I started to type. Subject 2 began pacing, elevated breathing. Subject 5 was refusing their food tray. Subject 9 was crying intermittently. However, there was no response, no acknowledgement. Nothing happened. It was just the timers were still counting down. I sent a message back to my supervisor, asking if he can explain what all of this is. I saw 3 dots appeared almost immediately, then gone. No reply. Subject 11 noticed the camera about an hour in. She looked straight at it. She didn't wave or scream, she just stared. Her timer dropped by 30 seconds. I felt a tightness in my chest, and I told myself it was a coincidence. Subject 4's timer hit 0 at 2:17 in the morning. Nothing dramatic happened. There was no alarms, no gas, no visible machine. She simply stood up, walked to the corner of the room, and faced the wall. Then she stopped moving. I waited. I don't know what I was waiting for, someone to maybe intervene, like a failsafe or people coming into the room. Instead, a message appeared at the top of my screen. Subject 4, expired. Log final posture. My hands shook so badly when I typed. Standing, facing corner. No visible signs of distress. Her feed went to black. After a moment, it appeared again. Then there was a message. Subject 17. That was the moment it stopped being abstract. Not because someone died, but because the system replaced them. Cleanly. Efficiently, like changing fucking batteries. I tried to close the browser, but it wouldn't let me. I tried to shut down my computer and a warning appeared. Observation interruption logged. Subject 7 screamed. His timer dropped by 5 minutes. I didn't dare to touch anything after that. So I sat there, watching. Now here is the part that makes people feel uncomfortable. Not everyone begged. Not everyone cried. Some adapted. One man started exercising every night like he was training for a marathon. He lasted longer than most. A teenage girl sang to herself quietly. Not songs that I recognized, just melodies. She lasted longer too. A middle-aged woman talked to the camera like it was a friend. She told it about her kids, her life's regrets, her favorite foods. She died smiling. The ones who screamed died the fastest. The ones who threatened died even faster. The ones who tried to ignore the camera lasted the longest. On the third night, I realized the timers weren't fixed. They were responsive. When I leaned in to view the screen closer, Subject 12's timer began speeding up. When I leaned back, it slowed down. When I covered my eyes, nothing changed. However, when I minimized the window, Subject 12 started screaming. A message appeared. Attention confirmed. I unplugged my webcam and every timer froze. All 16 feeds. Still images of people mid-motion. I sat there, heart pounding, staring at a paused man with his mouth half opened. I thought I found a loophole, but I was wrong. The message updated. Observer disengagement logged, and the timers resumed. But faster. When I slept, I dreamt I was in one of the rooms, not trapped, just waiting. When I woke up, my reflection was still on the screen, in the dark, watching. On the 5th night, I noticed something in the log history. A familiar phrasing. My phrasing. Subject appears resigned. Subject avoids camera eye line. Subject is conserving energy. But I didn't write those. I began scrolling up, and the entries were dated months ago, before I was even hired, before the job posting existed. The username attached to them was mine. I searched my email. Buried deep was a confirmation message I didn't remember receiving. Subject conversion complete. I confronted the supervisor again. This time they replied, You are misunderstanding the system." I asked him to explain. They sent a document with no formatting or logo, just text. Subjects are aware they are observed. Observers believe they are separate. Awareness is the variable. I read it 3 times. Then a 4th feed flashed. Camera 18. My room. My chair. Me. And a timer appeared. I screamed, but the timer dropped by 10 minutes. I clamped my mouth shut so hard my jaw hurt. The time slowed down. And that's when it clicked. This wasn't a punishment. This was calibration. They weren't measuring suffering. They were measuring behavior under attention. Who performs? Who resists? Who breaks? Who pretends that nothing is wrong? So I started experimenting. When I spoke calmly, the timer barely moved. When I panicked internally but stayed still, it ticked normally. When I thought about the camera, just thought, the timer dipped. They weren't watching my actions, they were watching my relationship to being watched. Another message appeared. You are progressing well. I didn't know what that meant. Not until I realized Subject 3's timer increased when I looked at him. Just a little, like a reward. That's when the worst thought entered my head. If I watch carefully enough, I can keep them alive. I started watching constantly. No breaks, no sleeps. I learned their habits, their patterns. I focused on the ones closest to 0. Sometimes the timer slowed, sometimes it didn't. And when it didn't, I watched them anyway. Here's the part I don't like to admit. It felt good. Not because I was helping, but because I mattered. On the 9th night, Subject 9 looked straight into the camera and said, "Is this helping?" His timer dropped to 0 mid-sentence. And the feed went black. Then camera 19 appeared. It was a woman in her 30s. She looked familiar. I realized why a few seconds later. She had my eyes. I moved quickly to check the logs. Subject 19, observer, parallel, phase, reflection. I don't know how long I stared at her. Her timer was long. Longer than anyone else's. She sat down quietly. She didn't cry, she didn't perform. She didn't look at the camera. A message appeared. Do you see yourself clearly? I tried to speak, but that's when I noticed the timer started to drop, so I stopped. Another message appeared. You are almost ready. That's when I understood the real job. They don't need subjects. Subjects are abundant. They need observers who learn not to look away. People who can watch suffering without flinching. People who can justify it. People who can tell themselves a story where they're not complicit. People like you. If you're still listening right now, ask yourself something honestly. Did you imagine the rooms? the faces. Did you picture yourself watching? Or did you picture me watching you? Because that's how it works. Attention transfers. Responsibility diffuses. The system doesn't care who watches, just that someone does. My timer is low now. I can feel it, not on a screen, in my body. Every time I think about you hearing this, it drops a little faster. So I'm going to stop. Not because I want to, but because the silence is the last thing that buys time. If you take anything from this story, let it be this. The worst thing you can do is believe that watching is neutral. Because the moment you convince yourself you're just an observer, you've already agreed to the job. And it always needs more people. Hey everybody, thanks for watching to the end of the video. I made a Patreon, so if anybody is feeling very generous and would like to help me in my journey into voice acting and into content creation and for live streaming, the Patreon link will be down below. And if you have any comments about my narration style, please feel free to leave a comment, and hopefully I earned you as a new subscriber. If you're out there trying to look for a voice actor for your current project, I have my Fiverr link down below, as well as my work email if you're looking for something more long-term. And with that, I hope everybody has a great day, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.